So, Wes, I have a confession to make. I went down the rabbit hole and went on an adventure without you.
Oh, no. Well, are you at least going to tell me about it?
Yes, I'm so excited about this. You see, my friend Brian invited me to go check out a makerspace. And I'd never been to a makerspace. I just had this preconceived notion of what it would be like, and I thought it's going to be this sterile environment with 3D printers that are so expensive that I can't touch them, and I was so wrong. But before I go down there, I want to introduce you to my friend Brian, who is kind enough to join us today. Thanks for joining us, Brian.
Oh, well, thanks for having me, for sure.
You're very welcome, Brian. Before we get started, I'd like to let everyone know there's still time to take advantage of our Black Friday promotion over at Linux Academy. As you probably know, we provide hands-on online training in Linux, AWS, Azure, GCP, DevOps, containers, and security. And right now, you can take $150 off a full year of unlimited training, at least if you act fast. This great deal ends today at 10 p.m. Pacific. To take advantage of this great deal while you still can, visit learn.linuxacademy.com/Jupiter to get a full year of training for just $2.99. Let's start things off by learning a little bit more about our guest. Brian, would you mind telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Well, I started to walk when I was about 1 year old, and then I...
Trouble ever since.
Oh, not that far back. Okay. No, so I guess for the past 20 years, I came from higher education, so I had a great deal in higher education. I was an instructor for about 8.5 years, digital imaging design, computer graphics, video editing, web design, all that fun stuff. Then I moved into faculty development and did that for 10 years-ish. And that was out in West Texas. But then I guess my wife was living down here in San Antonio, Texas, and she was ready for me to move down here, to San Antonio. So I've been down here in San Antonio for about almost 2 years, year and a half. And so I work for the county, Bear County, and I do technical training for the county. Is my day-to-day operations.
So doing that, how did you get involved with a makerspace?
So I guess back in San Angelo, Texas, it all started with the open source rabbit hole, I guess you kind of opened up with, and I love that analogy there. I came from a technical college before that, so I was used to having lots of money and being able to spend money and have fun toys, right? We had a lot of fun things to play with. But going to a university was a lot more red tape, a lot more budget stuff. And that led me on the mindset of go be innovative. We're at the Center for Innovation, Teaching and Research. Go be innovative, but we have no money. We have $0, right? It's like, there's no money, no funding, go be innovative. And that's what kind of opened me up to the open source mindset of the software and the hardware, and more importantly, the community behind all of that. And that research of me diving into how do I impact people's lives with $0 led me to the, like I said, open source. And then it was just a lot of research and search engines and saying, how do I impact people's lives with $0? And how do I get involved with creative people? And, how do I leverage tools and things like that? But this was probably about 5 to 6, 7 years ago, through some of my other research on open source topics. And that search led me to Timbit's website, Timbit Works. And from there, Ryan Beltrain, he's here in San Antonio. He started a movement called Elequa. And through that, it's called Make Water. MakeWater.org is his website. And it's a nonprofit that uses technology. And he kind of does these outreach programs to kids and schools about creating water coagulation kits. So these little kits that it basically does electrocoagulation of cleaning the water, making molecules bind together so you can filter out so you have better drinking water. And it was when I was still living in San Angelo that with that research, I'm like, wow, that's really cool. It's about 3 hours away. Maybe I need to reach out to this guy, start talking to this guy. That's where I got to go to Timbit Works Makerspace for my first time. And it was a tiny little shop. I think now it's some kind of little religious organization. It's a tiny little garage corner lot. and you can't fit much stuff in there, but they ended up having this whole craft section, and they had this art section, and then this little L shape, and then there was this woodworking shop and this metal shop, and it was a little tiny space, but they had people that came and did stuff.
I'm going to totally interject here because, Wes, you have to imagine this, because I walked into their new building, and what he's talking about is there is like a glass blower over there, and there's the laser cutter making like woodworking, and there's another guy working on like a 3D bot. It is like a tinker's dream in these buildings. So I can only imagine this huge building that's this new space in this little bitty tiny building that you're referring to.
I was kind of in the same boat you were. Like you're talking about just being this whole clean environment, clean room, and all this expensive equipment and all this kind of stuff. And you walk in there, and it's like, I got dirty walking in the door. You touch something and you got dust and debris and sawdust on you. And like, wait a second, what are you guys doing here? I thought this was some, awesome, and I guess other people online made it sound like there are those spaces, right? We could talk about that too, the for-profit stuff. And it is more clean room kind of like, but that's what I loved about this. As a 501c3 nonprofit, 10-Bit Works was it was a very raw, you walk in and it was a very raw, chaotic. Things were there. It was halfway organized, right? You could tell there was kind of sections to this place, but that was the old place because it was a nonprofit too. It was a very inviting space of come in, let's help teach you and share with you these ideas. And along those lines, the fun fact of 10-bit, I didn't learn this till later on myself. We call it 10-bit, right? 10-bit, but some people are clever enough to understand that's actually 2-bit.
Oh, that's great.
So it is 10, but it is 2-bit. 2-bit works, and it was actually 2-bit works hackerspace.
We've kind of danced around it a little bit, and Elle mentioned she had one conception, and the reality can be quite different. Maybe you could touch on what exactly is a makerspace. It sounds like that is a kind of broad definition that can fit a variety of environments.
Wow. So I'm probably not the most cultured in all this kind of history of it, but I think this was like maybe an MIT thing or like a Berkeley thing, right? Back in the day, these universities that having these high end, they had all these grants and money and these spaces to hack on things, right? And I think that's where the word hackerspace came from. Was a place to let's come and tinker. Hey, you'd like tinkering? Let's go ahead and make something. Let's create these radios and these tools. Let's use tools that maybe you couldn't afford on your own, but hey, we got together and we bought this machine, or we got it from a secondhand store. And so they brought it all together, and it was a place where you can go that like-minded individuals, you would end up finding like-minded individuals, and you want to work on something. And it might be something you do together, but it might be something that I just need to use that laser cutter. I can't afford the $10,000 for that laser cutter or whatever. And I need to use that 3D printer. And things like the Rip Wrap and those original 3D printers, they were 3D printers that could print themselves. You give it to somebody else, and they could build their own, right? And so I don't know how to build a 3D printer. Well, come and learn. I'll teach you, right? So let's come here. I got the printer. I'll print you one. Now you can learn how to do it. Now you go teach somebody else. And again, that open source mindset of sharing and collaborating.
When I first started reading up on makerspaces, you're right, I found a lot about the hackerspaces that started in the 1990s in Germany and how they were really just kind of created to be centers for, peer learning and knowledge sharing. And I really felt that when I walked into y'all's makerspace, because there was somebody who had created this beautiful Beauty and the Beast rose that would spin, and then its roses petals would fall off as it's spinning like it did in the movie. And when you're looking at that, okay, that's woodworking, because that rose is made out of wood by hand. And then inside of it, there's like little tinkering, and there's an Arduino, and then there's the glass that goes over it. And when I was talking to him, he's talking about how much of the resources in the makerspace came together to make that. And other people are coming by and helping him troubleshoot. And when something broke, he's talking about, working with somebody else to having that part replaced. So even though that's his project and he created it, so many people in that makerspace came together to help him make that a reality.
Yes. His name is Benjamin, I believe. Ben, I hope I don't get his name wrong. He's a very interesting story, and he is like the essential of the kind of person we love to have in that space. He was this essential guy that found the space kind of like I did. He was somebody looking around. I don't know what I'm doing. I need to tinker on something. I need to build something. I need some laser tools, laser cutters. it sounds like I could make something. He has done stuff like for theatrics with some of the local community theaters here in San Antonio. And he showed up one day. He says, hey, I'm trying to build this. I need to use a laser cutter. I heard you guys have one. He came in, not even as a member. He just came in. And again, we're a nonprofit. So we invite people to come in the community. If you want to build something, tinker with something, we'll sit you down and you'll start working on something when you walk in that door. But he started doing laser cutting. And by the end of the day, we ask for donations, right? So if you use laser cutter, I think it's like $1 a minute. So whatever you build, if you optimize it, it might only take you a minute to cut the part you want. You give us $1, right? So he donated a lot of money. He's like, here you go. I want to use laser cutter. So at the end of the day, he donated it, but he's like, this is a pretty cool place. I think I want to turn that donation into a membership. Right. And so he ends up becoming a member, but what he did was he created, like you said, this Enchanted Beauty and the Beast rose, and they had it for a prop for the theatric of the play. And it was a combination of him coming and learning, and he just enjoyed it so much and learned so much. And I don't want to speak too much for him, but from his story was what he created was this nice, beautiful art piece, but he needed to be very functional. So it was woodworking, and he did this acrylic prop for the glass top. And then the pedals were actually animatronic so that they would fall off. It had all these servos and an Arduino. So he's doing electronic components, he's doing woodworking components, he's doing acrylic laser cutting components, and maybe he even did some 3D stuff. I don't know, but he did a lot of work on this thing, and even had this touchpad that he could actually change and do the durations and how these pedals fell off this thing.
Wow.
And it was a really cool experience. And he's a perfect use case of coming in and learning and utilizing and leveraging our tools, right? Because that's the other thing about our tools is like the tools are just what we put our money in the pot and bought these tools, or some of these are hand-me-downs, some of these are graciously donated. But most importantly, and I have to stress this a lot, and I'll probably say this many times in this interview, is that the Makerspace is about the people, right? And I think that's very fundamental. It's about the people. It's not about these tools, right? The laser cutter, the 3D printer, those are cool, right? But we have plasma cutter, we have a welding machine, we have these band saws and router tables, whatever. We have woodworking stuff. But it's about the people in the community. And that's, again, so important to stress. And I think if you look at some of these high-end, the corporate people that came in and tried to capitalize, and there's been a couple already in San Antonio that are already coming and gone. We focus on the nonprofit side and people coming together to have common kind of goals and drive. But then the corporation, they try to come in too fast and hot. And they're like, let's make all this money. We're gonna build this space, a very clean environment. We're gonna build this space, and we're gonna have all these cool things, and everybody will flock to us and give us all their money and whatever. And it didn't really work out because they were focused on a few people here and there. And what Timbit has tried to do, and we're not perfect, we're still working on it. We're still striving to go for this goal of a much more cohesion of members. And what we try to do with Timbit was, you come and do what you want to do, right? Some people, maybe they build stuff and make stuff and maybe they go sell it here and there. But as far as the nonprofit side, we just ask that our members give back to the community in some form or fashion. You help and teach somebody else what you just learned. If you have a broken motor, if you have a broken something and you want to learn how to fix it, if it's a broken wire, you need to learn how to solder something. Come and learn how to fix that so that you don't have to toss it in the trash, right? And as United States citizens, we have that culture. It's just ingrained in us that just throw it away, go buy a new one.
Yeah, that's very true.
I think I really love that. When I walked up to the building, there's this huge flag over the door that says, "Come and make it."
Yeah, I mean that's perfect for those that don't know the history of this area. It's about come and take it, come and make it.
To kind of get back to how people can get involved in everything, you've talked about all the equipment and how we can interact with everybody, but it's going to be a little bit intimidating. Like, I've always wanted to play with 3D printers, but Lord help me, I don't even know how to get started. So if I were to go to a makerspace or join one, are there people there to help me? Is there any training? Am I just going to be let loose with the laser cutter?
We are raw. We're still learning. I mean, we've been up for 9 years, but I think everybody that's there, they just love doing what they're doing. And if they're there and you walk up and you ask, how do I do this? If they have free time, they're going to show you how to do that. So we don't have like a good structure of like set classes yet. We have classes periodically. We don't have anything standard. That's what I'm trying to get at. Just be very open to walking in and saying, I'd like to learn XYZ. And more than likely, you're going to learn XYZ.
Is there like a central place where makerspaces maybe are listed or communicate with each other? Like, how do you find a makerspace near you?
The best thing is probably just a quick internet search.
I can handle that.
In your area, in your town, look for Makerspace. Or you could type in that, community, type in community 3D printer or community laser printer. There's more and more libraries that are offering tools like this, 3D printers and things like that.
Obviously, you guys can tell how excited I am about having been there and how I want to get involved. But other than just the need to tinker, like, what can people really get out of this? Is this, really a skill that they could use in their day-to-day? This become a hobby? What's the big why when it comes to makerspaces?
People come in and they ask, can I do this here? Can I 3D print this trinket? Can I sew this? Can I, take a photo of this? Can I build this metal mantle? Can I do this art piece? And the question is, I don't know, can you? Right? It's like, it's like, well, yes, you can, but do you know how? No, I don't know how. Well, let's go learn. We're volunteers. We all have our day jobs or whatever. There's people that have different open hours. We have open house hours. We're there. Some people are there. But when you drop by, that's what we're going to ask you. Is like, well, have you researched that? I don't know quantum physics. You know quantum physics, right? We have one guy doing some moon dust, right? He's like trying to figure out some moon sampling of moon dust. Like if we're going to go out into outer space, how do we get a lander on the moon if we're going to build a colony there? Well, can we test this laser piece? And, it needs to be in a vacuum. So how do we build that? Well, it's sitting down, doing research, looking things up, and powwowing. I like to just throw that out, like a powwow, right? A conversation, a dialogue. Hey, can you do this? Can you do this? What's your skill set? And trying to see if, who knows what, and can I learn from you? Can you learn from me? What do I have to offer? What do you have to offer, right? And as a community, that's what we try to, we try to instill in people is that if you want to learn something, come and learn it. But when you learn that, turn around and teach somebody else.
So if people have more questions, what would be the best way for them to be able to get a hold of you?
10bitworks.com. It's got our hours on there, open hours. Like I said, there's different times of day. As a member, it's a paid membership. So as a member, you have 24/7 access to this building. You can come in there and utilize the tools and resources. So if you're a night owl, which we have some in our group,
I sympathize there.
Come and tinker with something at 2 a.m. But definitely clean up after yourself, right? Again, we're not your mom. You come clean up, right? Do your own cleaning. I am trying to get a group together to do us a robot that can clean some stuff. We are trying to do that. That'd be great.
That's the Makerspace approach. I love it.
Exactly, right? We have a problem. We're going to solve it.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today and telling us all about it. And I know I, for one, will definitely be back because I want a chance to play with those 3D printers.
We'll have links to everything we've talked about over at extras.show. And a quick reminder to visit learn.linuxacademy.com/Jupiter to take $150 off a full year of unlimited hands-on online training. That's learn.linuxacademy.com/Jupiter.